dialogue over conflicts. What do people do? They resort to actual physical conflicts, really further building onto some of the cycles of conflict. But also there's the conversation around state-sponsored harms, that come up from what happened in northern Uganda. Security roads that were opened during the conflict. Some of these security roads led to areas that were filled with resources, which resources, by the way, were completely cleared out. Yeah? And these security roads continue today. Some of these roads cut in between land that belonged to families, leaving people on the opposite side. Roads with time expand, and so it continues to take land. So what are we doing about harms that happened during war?
Conversations have been very intriguing, and while in my chair, there was that ignition that kept coming up at every point. Each one of you spoke. At every conclusion, a lot continues to linger my mind, and I'm confident the same is happening to our dear participants. Briefly, Mr. Jimmy spoke to us, gave us a case study of people who were displaced in Chiriandongo. And some of the questions could be, who displaced them and for what? Could that be the elephant in our midst? Remember, we are looking at women's land rights and peace building. Do we see peace coming after displacement? When compensation, he talked about a compensation of 40,000. Now I can't confirm whether he meant dollars, because shillings do not make sense at 40,000. So whatever he meant, ladies and gentlemen, this happened in Chiriandongo, and Chiriandongo is not far from any of us. It may actually be in this room. It may be at your neighbors. It may be in your family. It may actually be you, because investors continue to come. We had a presentation from Mr. Sitko, and he asked a number of questions here, and at some point I kept feeling like he's got the elephant in his hands and he's questioning that particular elephant. Why do women remain marginalized? What is patriarchy to us? When you're leaving home and when you're telling your father you want to marry and your mother, and the next question they ask you is, oh, is she hardworking? Members, what is in your mind as a parent asking your son who intends to marry, is she hardworking? Ladies and gentlemen, why don't you consider buying your son a donkey instead of somebody's daughter? These are all critical issues.
Where can we access justice? We have gatekeepers on the ground. We have local councils, highly respected by the courts of law. We have the RDCs now, highly respected by the courts of law. We have the court blockers. I don't know whether they are all lawyers or what. Then we have the police officers. These are people who make day-to-day decisions. And your worship, so many cases don't come to your desk, they don't come to your attention, but the decisions have been done, but they have been made. So many women have been victimized by the decisions made by local councils who are experts in the law regarding land, the police officers who make day-to-day decisions because these people run to them so that they get what? They get justice, but at the end of the day, nothing happens. Then, when they run to the courts of law, it's my prayer that worship, you continue walking the talk. When they run to the courts of law, they are sent to Chitalia. So people would rather make decisions down there and not end up in the courts of law, because at the end of the day, they will send them to what? To Chitalia. So these are, I would recommend that as organizations, continue working with the district local governments. We continue focusing on police officers to train them on what decisions they can make from there or which decisions they cannot make.
I wanted to ask your worship, what structures and systems have you put down to reach this grandmother in Kanungu, this grandmother in Kisoro at the border of Congo and Uganda, for them to be able to seek justice when their land is being grabbed? What systems and pressure have you put in place? Some of the grandmothers around maybe have feeder around, but there are areas where feeder does not reach. So I would like to ask, what systems have you put to take care of these grandmothers whose land is being grabbed and they don't know what to do? Thank you.
We need to look at the current judicial system in the context of Africa. Why is it that men are entrusted with much more authority other than our counterparts? And here we are talking about women empowerment. How can we support women to access the land? But we're forgetting about the men who are perpetrators. My focus will be on how do we support the men so that they are able to embrace the women and ensure that we share equal responsibilities other than talking about the rights. Because it's all about responsibilities. And when we have to focus on peace building, in most cases, if you will agree with me, most of the judgment which has been passed has never resulted into peace in the families and in the communities. Because this woman will still go back to live with this family, and their rights will still continue to be, ignored. I'll look at peace building at the community, at the context of the community. Culture existed before the law. So in the promotion of peace building, I want us to look at how do we nullify the wrong culture, the bad culture that give men, a lot of power to make decisions as opposed to women participating in a round table.
The law allows for Islamic and customary marriages, and those by and of this, their very nature are polygamous. Now the law allows for the marriage, but then when you look at other laws that touch on issues that surround land rights, for example, inheritance being one of them, the law does not provide for the same. So on one way the law is saying, well, you can get together through this mechanism. It is allowed through Islamic marriages, through customary marriages, but then when it comes to the inheritance law, even the recently amended Succession Amendment Act, our worship said that it is a move in the right direction, but really is 20% equal? Is that equitable? And I think our interest here should be about equitability, not equality. Because my question would be, for a mother or a father who has raised their child for 28 years, and at 28 they get married, and they get married to this young lady, and they stay together for 2 years, and then, God forbid, they die. Who of the two, the parent and the spouse, should have a greater claim over the property of the deceased? So you realize that when we begin pushing from the perspective of one gender, it might not really give us the solutions that we are trying to look at. And lastly, what has been the role of government in perpetuating and disabusing women, especially when it comes to their land rights, especially in rich lands, and the recent discovery of petroleum, and then the land acquisition, the compulsory land acquisitions that go on a daily? What has been the role of government? Or are we only saying that the abuse of women's rights, land rights, is only perpetuated by private individuals? Thank you very much.
When they monitor or they supervise the execution, they are helping us. They are contributing to the proper execution of this judgment. One, Being that they are at the grassroots, they are the ones who are in those areas where which are affected by the judgments. They know who the owner of the property is. They know who the beneficiary is. So before the judgment is executed, if a property had been listed as among those to be attached, they will give information. I'm telling you, sometimes these parties, they never tell us it was. No, they will not. But with the help of the police, with the help of the RBCs, you get to know that this property is not available for attachment. And as a result, you have saved the woman from being evicted, you have saved the children from being evicted. Mediation is one of the initiatives Uganda judiciary has taken up seriously. Unfortunately, previously it used to be mandatory, but it was always frustrated, like my sister said. It was always frustrated, especially by the lawyers, because to them, they are not earning. I'm telling you, there's no judicial officer that wouldn't have loved mediation, because one, it saves time. Two, once they have reached an agreement, I have no judgment to write, because judgment writing is also another hassle. You see, so as judiciary, we encourage mediation. But currently now, the law was amended that now mediation is optional. The parties may choose. And I'm telling you, like I say, parties believe more in their lawyers, the local leaders, as opposed to court. Do you know that? Even when I have advised and referred the matter, because I can look at the matter and tell that this matter can be concluded under mediation. But the man will tell you, maybe my lawyer told me I should not accept. And that's it. He will not change, no matter what. So, but I want to encourage you that you speak to these people, let them take up those initiatives, let them take advantage of those initiatives. We have small claims, much as that one does not apply in land matters. We have small claims. That one is a judgment within one day. One day like this, you get the judgment. We have mediation in relation to land matters, and then others. Then also, I talked about encouraging title processing. Of course, the principle of the law is that once you have a title, once the certificate of title reads your name, your interest, let me not use the legal word, but your interest is recognized in the whole world. Are we together? And it cannot be challenged unless there are other factors. But also I want to bring to you another certificate, which is called the Certificate of Customary Ownership. It's not, I know it is, the process of acquiring a title is quite lengthy and expensive. But at least Certificate of Customary Ownership can be obtained at sub-county level. And it is very cheap. Encourage these women to apply for that. It is proof of ownership of that property. We also have a certificate of customer certificate of occupancy, which I think some gentleman spoke about. That you have an interest, the legal interest, you have an landowner or a title owner, then there is this other chibanja holder. This chibanja subsists. These two are competing, they are not competing interests, but they are interests that exist together. Are we together? Especially here in Uganda, we have a lot of chibanja holdings. I cannot take you through the history because that can take us the whole day, if not the whole week. But if you are a chibanja holder, ensure that your landlord knows you. Do not transact in that property without notifying the chibanja, the title owner.
We have peace. We don't have conflict. We are at peace. But that is not peace. Because other people, other genders are not at peace with themselves. They don't have access to land, to resources. And how can they improve themselves? How can they derive livelihood? Why don't women at home, in our communities, not allowed to have spaces? So that's what is at the core of the interventions that we make. And I think the role of government has been touched by her worship here. But what I want to say is that in peace building, and indeed in the context of women's participation in peace building and their rights, land rights are part of human rights. If governments don't come up with mechanisms to enforce some of these statutes, some of these laws, some of these policies, they will just remain on paper, and they're not going to empower women. But beyond just asking about the role of government, what we need to question now is who constitutes government? And these people that constitute government, are they doing enough to transform culture of institutions, to strengthen institutions so that they speak to the needs of the local people, of the marginalized and oppressed groups like women, youth, my colleague here spoke about youth. So the role of government really is to ensure that there is legislation in place. But in addition to legislation in place, bottlenecks that still exist within the system, as earlier on alluded to here, should be looked at and solutions be found. Governments are made up of people, and it's people who will determine how institutions work. And this is until we transform those institutions in terms of tackling the issues that I've also elaborated on. It's going to be the same cycle of good policies, but still oppression, marginalization, and the oppression of women. And if you look at, which is my last point, how some of these privileges that have been enjoyed have been strengthened. We have institutions like family, institutions like culture, institutions like religion. I know that it's not easy conversations that we need to have, but it's time we question some of the tenets of culture, of religion that oppress other genders, especially the context of today's world, where we endeavor to achieve gender equality, fairness, social justice, and peace. And this is until we question some of these existing policies, tenets in these institutions, and come up with transformative solutions, we are not going to see the full participation and enjoyment of women and other genders in their human rights, including land rights. And there's not going to be peace in our communities because others are not given space to exercise and enjoy their rights.
Masaka district era nga kituulidde Masaka district ku nsonga eno ddala okulwanirira eddembe ly'abakyala ku by'ettaka n'okufuna obwenkanya. Omulimu guno Shade yakutukolamu siri omunzekka wano n'ono omuliraanwa wange ne bannange abalala nsaba muyimirire balambi monitors babalaba bakoze omulimu omulungi wansi eyo okukendeeza obutabanguko n'okuleetawo eddembe mu maka. Abaliwo muyimirira bakiikirira districts ez'enjawulo netweyazizanyo. Ffe ng'abalandi monitors twatendekebwa Shade netuwa obuvunaanyizibwa obw'enjawulo nga tetuli ba lawyers, tuli eyo wansi eyo okusomesa abantu ab'enjawulo okukendeeza obutabanguko obujja nga businziira ku ttaka n'okulaba nti abakyala bafuna eddembe lyabwe. Cases nnyingi nnyo zetukozeeko, cases nnyingi nnyo zetusobodde okutuukako era n'okuzirondoola. cases ezitulemerera tuzirifalinga mu organizations ez'enjawulo ne zituyambako bwe tuyitirirako obunene ne tugigoberera netuukira ddala mu kooti. Ku bintu ebimu bye tukozeeko kati mu kooti ewedde April to June kati ffe nga Masaka tubadde tulina cases nnyingi nnyo, naye kati nga nze omulandi monitor nasobola okuhandulika cases ezibeera 12 era nezibeera nga ziri handled bulungi. Nekolayo community dialogues okusomesa ku bantu eyo wansi okutegeera ebintu bino. Bannange ebintu bino byetwogerako si byangu, era Masaka district tugimanyi nti yemuli ku districts eziri obubi ennyo mu bigambo ebikwatagana n'ettaka era n'okubuzibwabuzibwa kw'abantu n'abakyala okubanga abakyala ffe tuli batugambye obuteyita banalevo yes kituufu abantu abatusobola kugoberera mitendera mituufu mutuuka gye tulaga naye sheeti erina wetutuusizzaako. Tukola referrals ez'enjawulo mu offices ez'enjawulo nga senior probation officer owa CDO sub-county chief poliisi endala nezigenda awali ekitongole kibayita OCOA naye tune tukiweerezaayo ne ku sheedi yennyini kubanga sheedi erina looya waayo era oyo atuyamba nnyo kubanga all the time abeera available era tetumutuukirira n'asobola okwongera otuwa amagezi ku bwe bwetutuuseeko. Okusoomoozebwa kati nga ffe balandi monita mubulira ebyo byonna kubanga kesi eyinza okujja ng'eyokya ate batutegeera abantu ne batukakasa ne batuteekamu obwesige bamanyi gye tuva bawulidde ekitongole kya sheedi ne betukozeeko abantu batujumbira enkya n'eggulo. Naye okusoomoozebwa kwe tulina nti transpoti ne ka airtime kubanga oli bwakubira amanyizi sheedi agamba nti bambi agamba njala kwogera nawe mukyala gundi tayogeraku birala bagijja kukuba oteekamu z'osobola. Era tulina mu katyabaga obulamu bwaffe tuli mu katyabaga kubanga abaami abamu betusuuziza ebibanja bye batunzi tebaagala kumanya ate era betusomesa etteeka lino eyo mu byalo mu komite dialogue batuvuma biraba ebyo bikazi kale mujja kuwasa bakazi baffe anyway naye naffe tubeera nga tuva bumu ne tugumiikiriza. Era ezo cases zetuweereza kubanga abakyala bakuzibwabuzibwa nnyo ng'abakulu abadde waggulu bewoogedde tuzirondoola mukyala ngamba nti ate gingi gyonsindise simanyiyo noteekamu transpoti nomumwerekera ate oluusi nga n'obuzibu bwafunye naye yenyini nga talina transpoti. Tetusaba oba recommendation kubanga ebintu bingi nnyo twabiwulidde dda bagenda bingi nnyo naye mu bufunze tetusaba Katonda era nga tusaba n'obwegendereza ekitongole kino ekya sheedi bakyongere ssente tusobole okukola ebintu bino wammanga kubanga bannagafenze ebira gyevamu yakyanamukaaga sheedi akatundu ke yakozeeko n'asomesa aba LCs naffe tusobola okukwatagana nabo emirerembe gigenze gigendeera naye bantisebo ne bajja mujjaba bategereza ba LCs abo ne gavumenti yatuyambye notugenda ku LC ng'okuva ne balonda executive LC bagenda nakubaako nga tebabeera mayina mingi tibamanyira loko gavumenti akiti gavumenti tuyambye era be bamu basinza okuleeta obutyabaga wansi eyo n'okubuzaabuza abantu. Singa sheedi eyongedde mu maaso negenda esomesa ku LCs abo nga naffe twongeramu amaanyi nga ge tubadde tututte naye nga muwulidde waggulu challenges ze tulina ekintu kino kibadde kigenda kukendeeza kinene nnyo ku butabanguko mu maka eddembe ly'abaana okulaba nti tebikyoboolwa n'abakyala.
I want to take the honor to appreciate the panelists, the three and the one who left us for an emergency. Please, thank you so much for the wonderful deliberations. Members who have been listening in, who have made contributions here and there, please allow me to say thank you.